Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
I'm Uncle Dan.
And I am Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world.
Huh?
Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
Hi-ho!
Oh my gosh, guys.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh my heck.
My heck.
You have the best gosh and heck in the tri-state area.
Thank you. That's Wyoming, Utah, and Idaho, I take it.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, and by the way, we do have to do a show one time, a segment one time about Mormon swears.
Oh, for
we
sure.
We should do that.
That would be super fun, because I think a lot of people won't believe us. Life in rural Mormon country is Napoleon Dynamite, you guys. That is like a literal true. So anyway, here we are, episode 139. We are getting much, much closer to the legendary episode 140. 5-6 weeks away. I don't know how the math works, but it's a great show. And I'm going to start with a little travelogue to La Belle France.
Ooh, and then I'm going to, I'm going to add to our list of cults with one so utterly benign and boring that we'll all have forgotten about it by next week.
Yay!
I don't know. I feel like there are some ladies with some interesting branding that could tell you differently.
There are some people who won't be forgetting about it for sure.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you all about whether or not you should believe in the Old Testament. Spoiler: you should not.
Yeah, probably. It would be best for everyone if you didn't.
Yes, indeed.
Not believing in the Old Testament is like staying indoors until this all blows over. It's just gonna make society a lot safer. And people out there, don't forget, we got merch. We've got all kinds of great merch. You can go to the howtoheretic.com, click on Heretic, and the world of retail joy will open up before you. And we're on YouTube as well, so you can start
buy
if you like
our
YouTube
stuff. What the hell else do you have to do?
Yeah, and like Uncle Mark says, you can track down specific segments we've done. Our friend Vern is working on that project of getting all our segments onto YouTube. So if you have a friend who's struggling with a particular issue or a particular subject or the like, you can send them a segment rather than a whole show. We do this for you.
Yes, out of love.
Yeah,
of some kind. I'm not
for something.
Yes. So with that, let us do the show.
Uncle Dan.
Oui, monsieur.
Oui,
oui. Bye, French listeners. Au revoir.
It does seem like our current reality is shitty, but I think we can be comforted by reality. Right, exactly. We can be comforted by the fact that pretty much every other time in history was also shitty.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel better?
Possibly shittier.
Possibly
Strangely.
shittier.
Possibly. I feel like right now is giving the olden times a run for its money, but even with all this, we still live in the most peaceful time in human history. So think about that.
Just for the next at least a couple days, we live in the most peaceful time. It does seem to be threatening to lose that title, but okay, we'll say that.
Yeah, it's sunny with a chance of apocalypse.
Right.
Yeah, we never know what's going to happen between the time we record this and you hear it. So
yeah, exactly. Well, let's explore a time long ago, shall we, fellas?
Yes, please.
And there's never been a bad time to be a Catholic, like ever. Whether you were a woman or a queer person or an astronomer or just a peculiar old lady who lived alone and was fond of cats. Since St. Paul, formerly Saul of Tarsus, said to himself, "There's got to be a way to monetize all this madness and use it as a political cudgel to crush my enemies," it's been one sunny summer day for more than 2,000 years. Right, fellas?
Easy breezy.
Well, it turns out it's never been a bad time to be a Catholic, even for wealthy, privileged, and connected Catholic clergy as well. Well,
Weird.
except for this one time. Follow me, if you will, to the tranquility of Loudun, France, in the sleepy 4th decade of the 17th century. And by tranquility, I mean a nation in turmoil with the Protestant Huguenot revolts, the constant crisis and palace intrigues and instabilities of the Louis, and a continent in the midst of the 30 Years' War, tranquil. And it is this provincial but apparently quite nice little town of Loudun, France, in the years of 1632 to 1634, that is the stage for today's gruesome drama, that of Father Urbain Grandier and the Devils of Loudun. I first became aware of this story when a friend showed a 19-year-old me the very fucked up and conceptual 1971 Ken Russell film version of this dreadful moment in history, and it rattled me. I was a very sensitive young guy who was working on horror movies before I'd really seen any because I found them too scary. and while it's not a horror movie in the classic sense, it's very disturbing. And as far as I can tell, it cleaves pretty damn close to the known facts of the incident. We watched this on Halloween one year, guys. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Was I there?
Yeah. Remember the heretics?
I don't think I was there.
You were there. Anyway. You were there. Anyway, born into a wealthy family in 1590, Urbain Grandier entered the priesthood at a young age and was appointed by his influential uncle to be the parish priest of Loudun. And also, he was appointed to a more powerful position as canon of the Collegiate Church of St. Croix, ahead of several more elder, more qualified, but less connected candidates. He was also
I want that position, the position of canon.
Yeah, he was a canon.
That's
Nobody
awesome.
knows what that means. He was also something most priests then and now are not. He was young, very good-looking, highly educated, well-spoken, and apparently fun in an irreverent way, and also a social climber. Having replaced a gray, cruel, rickety old priest, the people of the town were excited by Grandier's energy and his wit, most especially the ladies of the town with whom he flirted maybe a little too openly. In fact, Grandier wrote an entire book inveighing against the unnatural and forced celibacy that priests had to endure for their whole lives. This turned more than a few heads, well beyond Loudun, including in Rome and Paris. One such head it turned was one you wouldn't want to turn all the way round to notice you, that belonging to Cardinal Armand Jean de Plessis, also known as Eminence Rouge, but best known to history as Cardinal Richelieu. Yes... He's the villain of the Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
If Father Grandier was a cheeky monkey of a social climber, Cardinal Richelieu was King Kong. By the years in question, he had not only achieved the rank of cardinal within the Catholic Church, but had survived loads of attempts on his position and even his life in the stabby snake pit of the French royal court to rise not only to chief minister of King Louis XIII, but also First Minister of State, Governor of Brittany, Grand Master of the Navigation, Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs, and Secretary of War.
I love these titles.
I know. I want to be Grand Master of the Navigation, which would be awesome because I get seasick looking at a picture of the ocean. So quite the resume. After the king, Richelieu was the most powerful person in France, and some argue that he was indeed more powerful than the young king himself. So Richelieu looks around France, sees overly powerful regional nobility with their armies and their fortifications, sees those pesky, seditious heretics, the Huguenots, occupying some of those same fortifications, sees all of it as a threat to the crown, to the church, and himself, and decides that's enough of that shit. So the order is given to have the bulk of those walls and castles torn down, centralizing the authority of the crown as the only legitimate legal and military power in the country, and obviously that of the church as well. So among those that resisted this order was Father Grandier. He didn't join in the anti-Protestant fervor of most of his co-religionists of the day and kind of radically wanted to get along and even protect the Huguenots of Loudun. This greatly irked Richelieu, who made his displeasure known. Grandier's response was to write a satirical poem skewering the imperious Richelieu for his pretensions to power. This, it turns out, was to be a terrible mistake on Grandier's part.
Yeah.
So
that's like that's like writing that's like thinking that you can beat Trump by pissing him off.
Yeah, you just don't want to get involved with that.
Just going
guy.
to make an enemy for life, and he's so dumb he might actually do some damage.
That's right. So in addition to being a little too arrogant for such a dangerous time and too charming for his own good, Grandier went beyond the flirting mentioned above. He's believed to have fathered more than one child with different women, including the daughter of one of his closest allies, Louis Tricant, the public prosecutor of Loudun. This infuriated his friend, who joined the growing list of Grandier's enemies. He even approached the young daughter of a powerful local nobleman and convinced her to marry him, infuriating not only the family, but a guy named Pierre Menoir, who had been wooing her for years, who also happened to be directly connected to King Louis XIII personally. So Grandier was arrested. This whole crazy proceeding took place. It looked really bad for him. But when push came to shove, the case fell apart when the accusations were recanted because the families of the unwed mothers decided the shame would be too great to come forward. So he got lucky, but he got cocky. His luck did not last. There was a small, unimportant convent of Ursuline nuns in Loudun, and from all evidence, it seems the Mother Superior, one Jeanne d'Agnes, had become obsessed with the handsome, dangerously transgressive Grandier. Now remember, just because priests and nuns take vows of celibacy doesn't mean they aren't sexual creatures with all sorts of fantasies and desires. Any passing familiarity with the Catholic Church in the past decades proves that in the worst possible way.
Right.
So she asked him to become the confessor for her small clutch of nuns. He declined abruptly, saying he was too busy and refusing to even visit the convent in person. So spurned and jilted, she smoldered. It seems Agnes made her sexual dreams and nightmares about Grandier known to the man who filled the post at the convent Grandier had refused, one Father Mignon. He himself, one of the many local despisers of Grandier. Mignon decided it was witchcraft perpetrated by the philandering priest. The young, isolated, and fearful nuns under Agnes began admitting to their own nocturnal supernatural visits from Grandier in an increasing hysteria, very much like the events that led up to the Salem witch trials.
Huh. Interesting.
So, Grandier's enemies pounced, including Richelieu, of course, and he dispatched one of his lieutenants and a relative of Mother Superior Jeanne d'Agnes, a guy called, I'm so sorry, French people, what's about to happen, a guy called Jean de Laubardemont. It's like 40 words long, 40 letters long, to investigate, but really to railroad Grandier and rid him of that infernal priest. So the exorcisms of the Ursuline sisters of Loudun became something of a public spectacle, with each performance necessarily needing to top the last.
Right.
Grandier, it suddenly and erroneously seemed, had fucked them all in person and in spirit with the help of and in the presence of demons. The poor man's goose was cooked. The Inquisitor.
What really sucks about that is that he didn't even get to actually fuck them. At least if he had gone, he could have actually gotten some tail out of it, some sweet Ursuline tail out of it.
Who doesn't want some Ursuline tail? So, the Inquisitor de Laubardemont bore papers from Richelieu barring anyone to appeal or any civil judge or authority from interfering with his kangaroo court. As part of the proceedings, a ridiculously absurd document was produced called the Diabolical Pact. Written backwards in Latin, this stupid piece of superstitious garbage sealed Grandier's fate, but such were the standards of evidence in this benighted age. It reads as follows. We, the influential Lucifer, the young Satan, Beelzebub, Leviathan, Elimi, Astaroth, together with others, have today accepted the covenant pact of Urbain Grandier, who is ours. And him we do promise the love of women, the flower of virgins, the respect of monarchs, honors, lusts, and powers. He will go whoring 3 days long. The carousal will be dear to him. He offers us once in the year a seal of blood. Under the feet he will trample the holy things of the church. He will ask us many questions. With this pact he will live 20 years happy on the earth of men, and will later join us to sin against God. Bound in hell, the council of demons. Signed, Lucifer, Beelzebub, Satan, Astaroth, Leviathan, Elimi, the seals placed, the devil, the master, and the demons, princes of the Lord. Balberith, writer.
Okay. I think we're gilding the lily just a little bit with this thing.
Yeah,
it's love it. While you were talking, I looked this document up.
You saw a picture. It's hilarious.
It's gorgeous. I love it. It's so stupid.
And it's like a kid would write it for a Halloween haint, a scary thing with crayon, right? The signatures are hysterical. I'll post a picture of it. So His sentence was read out and is recorded for history, and that is as follows. We have ordered and do order the said Urbain Grandier duly tried and convicted of the crime of magic, maleficia, and of causing demoniacal possession of several Ursuline nuns of this town of Loudun, as well as of other secular women, together with other charges and crimes resulting therefrom. For atonement of which we have condemned and do condemn the said Grandier to make, I don't know how exactly you say this, amende honorable, his head bare, a rope around his neck, holding in his hand a burning taper weighing 2 pounds. That seems important.
How much does the candle weigh, though? How much?
Before the principal door of the church of Saint-Pierre du Marché, and before that of Saint Ursula of this town, there on his knees to ask pardon of God, the king and the law. This done, he is to be taken to the public square of Saint Croix and fastened to a stake on a scaffold, which shall be erected on the said place for this purpose, and there to be burned alive, and his ashes scattered to the wind. We have ordered and do so order that each and every article of his movable property be acquired and confiscated by the king, the sum of 500 livres, first being taken for buying a bronze plaque, so they're going to do some decorating, on which will be engraved the abstract of this present trial, to be set up in a prominent spot in the said church of the Ursulines, to remain there for all eternity.
Wow.
Okay. And before...
go ahead, sorry.
Well, it's almost done. And before proceeding to the execution of the present sentence, we order the said Grandier to be submitted to the first and the last degrees of torture concerning his accomplices. How would you like to be standing before the judge and hear that, guys?
Well, I love that it goes on a little bit of a journey.
Yeah.
Because the first third of it is like, okay, you're going to have to get on your knees and say you're sorry. Yeah. You were a bad boy. And you got to think he's like, okay, I could do that.
Yeah.
No problem. And then it takes a turn.
Yeah, he knew what was coming. So,
yeah.
This is going to get...
By the way, you don't feel very motivated to do the whole... get on your knees and ask forgiveness thing when you know what's coming afterwards, regardless of what you do.
Right.
Like at that point, I would never get on. I would be like, you get to see my middle fingers forever now.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to get motivated after that sentence, but yeah. So this is going to get gruesome. Be warned. He was fastened to a board with his legs laid in immovable planks. De Laubardemont and his torturers carefully exorcised all the implements of torture so the demons could not ease Grandier's pain.
Oh, that's
then
nice.
Set to work pounding wedges between the planks in his legs, shattering his leg bones.
Oh, my God.
After each blow, he was given the opportunity to confess, which he would not. After 45 minutes or so, something called the Spanish boot was fastened to his ankle and foot. Think of it as like it's kind of an iron ski boot full of spikes that's also a vice. And after being made red hot in the fire, it's cranked down on the body until it totally shatters the bones and destroys the flesh. He was then ordered to be put to what the court called the extraordinary question, where the mouth is wedged open and gallons of water are forced down the throat. Think of waterboarding, but with a fire hose. So,
yeah.
Despite these agonies, he never confessed because, of course, he couldn't. He didn't use demons to possess these women. That's not a thing, for fuck's sake. So,
right.
And what good would confessing do him? They weren't going to let him off the hook.
Exactly.
So you might as well have that last bit of integrity before the
right,
grave.
Yeah.
So they dragged him in a donkey cart to the square where his enemies were seated in a VIP grandstand, congratulating each other and celebrating with wine. As his legs and feet were pulp, he was unable to stand, so he was tied to the stakes, seated on an iron chair. In the humane standards of the day, he was going to be strangled prior to the fire. He kept trying to speak, but the priest threw water in his face and smashed him in the mouth with an iron crucifix, so he couldn't. As a last act of mean girl barbarity, the executioner found the inquisitors had tied the customary strangling rope in knots, preventing him from administering a slightly more humane murder, and then they lit the pyre before he could improvise another garrote. So a very conscious Grandier screamed until the fire filled his lungs, to the horror, shock, and delight of the 30,000 assembled witnesses.
Oh, wow.
His enemies in the VIP section sang and toasted their success in framing this problematic but ultimately innocent man. The appearance of a large black fly buzzing around the condemned's head confirmed for his murderers that he was indeed guilty, as it was surely Beelzebub, Lord of the Flies. That's his actual title.
There you go.
As gruesome and unjust as this horror was, philosopher Michel de Certeau believes it marked a key milestone for the emergence of Europe out of the medieval period and toward the Enlightenment. It was one of the last and certainly one of the most high-profile trials for witchcraft in France, and even those that were ambivalent about Grandier saw it as a farce and a miscarriage of justice. Add to that many of the nuns recanted during and after the trial, including, shockingly, the Mother Superior. And it's speculated now, as it was even at the time, that the silly diabolical pact I read to you a minute ago was in Agnes's own very particular handwriting. So I haven't read the 1952 Aldous Huxley nonfiction novel about this nightmare called The Devils of Loudun, but as I mentioned before, the 1971 film The Devils, based on Huxley's book, is pretty bananas, and like I said, seems to track with what's known about these events, despite being a little conceptual and psychedelic. Not a family film, just FYI, if you're interested in watching. So that's it, guys. I guess it's a cautionary tale about being too pretty, pissing off powerful people, and a reminder that church-state separation and impartial, non-corrupt judicial systems are good things. So we should try to keep those, or establish them, depending on where you stand.
I feel like you've left the main question unanswered, which is the plaque still around?
I don't know.
It's supposed to be there for forever.
I didn't think to look that up. It may be. I don't know if the convent is still there, but
right.
Yeah,
there you go.
Just be cray.
That was fun.
Yeah. So there you go, everybody.
I saw Sister Proctor with the devil. Let's move
burn on.
Let's move on.
Hey, Uncle Mark.
Yes, Uncle Dan.
Listen, I'm having a party over at my house. I hope you'll come to it. I'm going to be selling. I'm going to be teaching you how you can make a fortune selling a product that I think you'll really believe in.
Tell me more.
There's no way you can lose, because here's what you do. You get, 5 or 6 people selling under you.
Sure.
And they get people selling under them, and the money just flows up.
That's right.
Shut up and take my freedom.
Right? Exactly.
It's like a triangle.
Yeah.
It's like a dodecahedron. Scheme.
Yeah, it's like a building that's fat on the bottom and skinny at the top.
Something like that.
Yeah. Kind of pear-shaped, but more straight lines.
Yeah, exactly. You've heard of those, right, Uncle Doug?
I have, and I'm here to talk to you about that today. Well, dear uncles, last week we reviewed the many cults we have covered in the past few years, searching for insights that might help guide us through our current unpleasantness.
I feel like we didn't really land where we needed to with that, which is just that Donald Trump is trying to turn us all into the anthill gang.
Exactly.
I feel like we didn't get there.
I think that was one of the main takeaways. I think the other two takeaways from that were don't be in a cult, and man, there's a lot of cults.
And call you dad.
Yeah.
In fact, we have covered so many damn cults that I have forgotten about cults that were my own segments.
Totally.
Cults, yeah. I mean, they often share so many traits and trajectories that they can blend together and slide down the memory hole. And such is the case with the cult I'm going to talk about today, NXIVM.
The cult of fighting heartburn.
Yes, exactly. Not to be confused with the proton pump inhibitor used to treat heartburn, NXIVM. Yes. That's spelled capital N, capital X, capital I, capital V, capital M. It looks like the date of a football game.
Or one of Elon Musk's children.
You stepped right on the goddamn joke.
You didn't tell me.
Not to be confused with Elon Musk and Grimes' baby. Was it XAEA-12?
How do you say that? How do you say that name?
Apparently, it's pronounced Ash, because you don't have to be in a cult to be stupid.
However, you don't think Elon Musk is in a cult, huh?
Well, I think he would if he could. However, if the alternative was being named Grimes Musk, this baby probably dodged a bullet. So, NXIVM is really only notable because it's currently in the news, and not for any good reasons. Mostly from a pair of New York Times articles chronicling the cult's undoing. Other than that, the twists and turns of this story are so predictable and familiar that I defy anyone to remember them next week, including me.
Wow, I'm looking forward to this now.
I'm in.
So NXIVM and its founder, Keith Raniere, definitely looked at the menu of past and present cults and borrowed heavily from Mormonism in particular, but especially from Scientology. Not so much the theology of Scientology, but the tactics in how to manage their members. So born in Brooklyn in 1960, Keith Raniere quickly got into the self-help and get-rich-quick schemes that abounded in the 1980s and the 90s. In the early 90s, he created a business called Consumers Byline. I don't know if you guys even might remember this. It was kind of big for a while.
I don't.
What was it?
It ostensibly helped members find bargains. Like you became a member and they would put you on the scent of, cheap this or cheap that. This is pre-internet days, right?
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a pyramid scheme, so egregious that Raniere was permanently banned from working in that field in New York. Undeterred, he founded NXIVM in 1998 near Albany, New York, with Nancy Salzman. It is one of the many stated positions of this podcast that one should always be weary of movements that get their start in upstate New York. The company was a personal development company that offered executive success programs, or ESPs, which, for a price, were designed to help members take control of their lives and achieve success. Sound familiar?
It feels like it should be merged with Trump University.
Yeah, it's so Trumpy. It didn't take long for certain cult-like behaviors to show up, though. In order to take the classes, one had to be invited by a member and then fill out an extensive questionnaire that NXIVM people would use to pinpoint weaknesses and weed out skeptics. Sound familiar? During these ESPs, members would put recruits through vigorous interviews, drilling down hard on past experiences and traumas, and recording this information for future blackmailing purposes.
Yeah.
God.
Sound familiar?
They're just Scientologists, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really wannabe Scientologists.
Boy, that's a bad place to be in life.
Right.
Right. When your business when you're like, what business model should we emulate? I don't know. How about LRH?
Yeah.
Right. Up to 16,000 people enrolled in NXIVM classes over the years, but the vast majority of whom took only a couple classes and moved on. And among that population, there were some significant figures, including former Surgeon General Antonia Novello, and reportedly Richard Branson took a couple NXIVM classes.
Wow.
But
because what that guy really needs is some business instruction, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
So many people
He's been
continued
limping
on
along for so long.
Right. A lot of people continued on with NXIVM and became consumed by it, cutting themselves off from their families and turning over their life savings. NXIVM was particularly interested in recruiting trust funders and celebrities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Among the celebrities recruited were some minor TV stars such as Linda Evans, Nikki Klein, Grace Park, and Allison Mack.
Did you know that Linda Evans also belongs to the Ramtha cult?
No shit.
To PC Knight's cult?
Ugh.
Yeah. She was the one she was yelling at during that drunk tirade.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, and these are all pretty B-list celebrities. I mean, Tom Cruise and John Travolta have very much been spoken for. Allison Mack, the last one I mentioned, was actually a star of a TV series called Smallville, if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
And she will factor pretty prominently in what follows. The cult of personality around founder Raniere and Salzman began to take shape. During ESPs, he was to be referred to as Vanguard, and she was called Prefect.
Wow.
Prefect.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. He started to dress and grow his hair out like a guru, and he claimed that, amongst his personal mythology, he claimed that he spoke in full sentences by the age of 1, mastered high school mathematics by 12, and taught himself to play concert-level piano by 16. Sound familiar? Their belief system was pretty thin gruel. Mostly it was an amalgam of New Age, self-help gobbledygook. They recited a 12-step mission statement written by Vanguard, in each ESP. Here's just a couple of these 12-step points. I won't read them all. They're ridiculous, but here's some bullet points. There are no ultimate victims, therefore I will not choose to be a victim. Success in my own right is my earned success. Okay.
What?
True success is never at the expense of others. And
That's nice.
Wait, are we doing a thing about Deepak Chopra now? I thought we were talking about Vanguard.
It's all a derp circle.
Yeah.
And then the last one I'll read is, a world of successful people will be a better world indeed. Okay.
Wow.
Thanks,
Okay,
Vanguard. Yeah.
The depth is really it's not to be fathomed.
It's
real head scratchers.
there was not a lot to this cult. But as adherents continued to go deeper and deeper, things started to get weird. NXIVM began to gather intelligence on local politicians in case they ever needed to blackmail them, including New York Governor Eliot Spitzer, New Jersey Attorney General Ann Milgram, Senator Chuck Schumer, and Roger Stone, among others. Wow. It seems that they aspired to the political mischief of Scientology's Operation Snowflake, but never really got off the ground.
Huh. Snow White, not Snowflake.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Correct me on air. Jesus Christ.
Well, you were wrong.
Cody,
What are we
fix this.
supposed to do?
They worked hard to prevent their members from reading unapproved news sources or interacting with their families. Sound familiar? Raniere even founded his own news organization to spread propaganda to his members, which he humbly called the Knife of Aristotle.
Oh, fuck off. Oh, that's amazing.
So, as Raniere developed his belief system, other strange things. I know, right?
That's amazing.
Under his leadership, his higher up started doing some strange shit. One higher up member named Dr. Brandon Porter would take to strapping women to a machine that recorded brainwave activity and then showed them horribly violent films of real people actually being murdered and dismembered, and then recorded their brain activity.
What?
Yeah, weird shit.
Can I make a prediction? I'll bet they didn't like it.
Yes. That's pretty safe bet.
Jesus.
Yeah, and before anyone gets afraid that we might veer into anthill kids territory, don't worry. What comes next is bad, but not anywhere near that bad. Raniere did start talking about past lives, and he claimed that many of his higher-up followers were reincarnated Nazis.
Oh, my God.
Well, he was a reincarnated Nazi hunter.
What? What sense does that make?
Wow. No less a place in the history of man than that.
Exactly.
Amazing.
I love that. You go, oh, he's going to tell me who I was in a past life. You were Heinrich Himmler. Congratulations.
Exactly, yeah.
What?
I know, it's strange.
Herr Goebbels, is that you?
Truly,
Yeah.
I think one of his higher-ups was Goebbels. Anyway, fuck. All of this cult-like behavior served to fleece the hell out of the members and to groom women for Raniere's sexual appetites.
Oh, shocking.
And this really all got out of hand when in the early 20-teens, actress Alison March, remember her, started an organization within NXIVM called DOS, D-O-S, which stands for Dominus Obsequious Sororium, which is supposed to be a Latin phrase meaning master over slave women.
What?
But isn't. I know, right? Because Dominus does mean master, but obsequious in Latin means obsequious.
Right.
And sororium doesn't mean women, so whatever.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, there was this.
I got to tell you guys, if you hear me yell bingo at any time, my cult bingo card is lit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
I'm checking all the boxes.
I'm
It's
going
so
for
dumb.
blackout.
There was a lot of slave master mentality in this cult. So
Hot.
once a woman was sufficiently brainwashed and isolated, she would be selected by Mac and others to be initiated into this cult within a cult. And they would be stripped naked, held down on a massage table, and branded with the initials of Raniere.
Wow.
This branding was just above the hip and was done with a cauterizing iron and could take up to 30 minutes
Oh, my God.
of excruciating pain.
You need a better brander.
Yeah, right? How about just a brand?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a
Fucking get a-
cauterizing iron. It's like a soldering iron.
Like
you know?
I'm good with my hands. I could be in and out 15 minutes.
The scar that was left behind was grotesque, and it further isolated these women from the outside world for fear of having the brand discovered.
Yeah.
And then these women, of course, would then be sex slaves for Raniere. By 2016 and 17, the pressure from enough former members and families of current members caused a federal investigation, which led to the arrest of Raniere in 2018 on several charges, including sex trafficking and conspiracy to commit forced labor. In that same year, Allison Mack was arrested on similar charges, and at this point, the meager house of cards fully collapsed. In 2019, Nancy Salzman, who was one of the original founders, pleaded guilty to racketeering and criminal conspiracy. Dr. Porter lost his medical license because of his experiments. At this point, at least 14 other NXIVM leaders have been charged with crimes ranging from racketeering to sex trafficking, and their cases are wending their way through the legal system as we speak. So as of today, NXIVM has basically ceased to exist. The cult's assets have been seized, its leaders imprisoned. It doesn't even have a website anymore. And dear uncles, I wish that sounded familiar.
Right?
Yeah, that's.
There you go. I mean, you're absolutely right that it's a little bit shocking to hear the system actually work.
Yeah, and they dismantled this thing soup to nuts. So
really,
so
that is amazing. I mean, there was obviously barbarity and probably a spectrum of sexual crimes, but a cult came and went without a body count, right?
Yeah. There appears not to have been any fatalities. I might be wrong. I couldn't see any associated with this. No suicides are directly linked. But
I was going to ring the big first time a cult didn't end in mass death bell that we have here at the How to Heretic, but we don't have that bell.
Yeah, I forgot to get
smelt that bell.
That's on me.
That's crazy. I knew a little bit about these guys, but it looked too much like. It looked too much like a Silicon Valley story to me, so I never really read it.
Which it truly was. I mean, it was. It was based out of New York, Vancouver, and parts of California. But yeah, so long NXIVM.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's put them in the graveyard of the whatever.
I'm actually loving it. Let's move on from there.
It's a hopeful show today.
Sure.
Yeah. Woohoo!
Gentlemen,
hello.
Do you feel the love pouring over you?
Can you feel the love?
Like I probably can't even sing on pancakes?
Yeah, for sure.
It's beautiful and it's sticky sweet, and a whole bunch of our friends and listeners have decided that they are going to contribute to the pouring. So we've got some folks to thank who've decided to become patrons and give us some of their money. So. Thanks so much to Sky, to Ashley, to Claire, to motherfucking Summerblaze.
Motherfucker Jones.
And let's see. I think it might be my turn to do a saint. We've got a saint I needed to bestow.
I think you did the last one.
Oh, no, I did the last one. Yeah. Uncle Mark, your turn. You do a saint for Matthew.
Matthew, again, also the name of a saint. So this is you're just doubling up on the protection.
It's saint squared.
And exactly. So Matthew, you are extremely deserving of the protection and patronage of Saint Magnavox of Three Lakes, Wisconsin, the beautiful little town. And she is the patron saint of the 1967 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme in sage green. She's also the saint of nervous pancreas syndrome, and of course Icelandic strongman Magnus Ver Magnusson.
Oh,
yeah,
good stuff.
So congratulations. I think you're completely covered.
So if you ever have a problem with Magnus.
Yeah, and you can
pray about it.
Don't get on his bad side. Did you see him do that deadlift just the other day?
No, that wasn't him. That was the another guy. That wasn't Magnus. That's the guy who plays the mountain.
I will not have you correct me twice in one episode.
Well, then you better not go for a third here because I'm on a hot streak.
Doug, before you two get into a fight, I am going to give you a job, and that is that you need to give a heaven.
That's right.
To our dear friend Lucas, who has earned his place among the stars.
Well, Lucas, many years from now, when your tender heart finally gives out under the strain of several pounds of cocaine and an earth-shattering orgasm at the hands of a team of talented models in the grotto of your mansion, darkness will surround you. But as it does, You will feel no fear, no pain, and no regret. You've lived a full and meaningful life, and except for that unfortunate incident with the soccer team after the plane crash, you have been good and kind, and know you will be rewarded. Warm green begins to resolve itself into your view, and you realize that you are moving forward. The green blur focuses into a forest filled with tall, rugged pine trees. Far off in the distance, you see tall, rugged granite mountains, capped with stunningly white, rugged glaciers. You're flying. No plane, no hang glider, just you, majestic as an eagle, gliding over the treetops. Up ahead, you see a road sign parting the forest, and you swoop right to follow it. You're moving very fast, but if you're not mistaken, the road is full of potholes. No matter. What need do you have of a road anyway? A large sign appears on the horizon spanning the road. You slow down to read it, and as you draw near, in large, rugged letters, it says, "Welcome to Libertarian Heaven." That's fucking weird. You look down to see the letters W, O, T, and N lying randomly in the street. It takes you a second, but then you realize what the sign is supposed to say. "Welcome to Libertarian Heaven." Oh, okay. Lucas, I'm not sure if you were a libertarian in real life, but with a manly, rugged name like Lucas, this is where you belong. You alight upon the ground and walk under the sign into a beautiful, rugged mountain town. At first glance, it's, what's the word? Rugged. All the houses are log cabins with firewood stacked up next to vegetable gardens. Manly men in lumberjack plaid strut around with axes slung over their shoulders, heading off for a hard day's work, you assume. Strong women in overalls and boots mingle in the town square. Each of them also has an axe over their shoulder. Okay. You definitely notice that everyone here is white. This is libertarian heaven, after all. But you soon start to notice that things are a little bit off. The log cabins are all in various states of disrepair. Nearly all have dirty and damaged pickup trucks on blocks in the driveway. The streets are indeed full of potholes, and each of the people you see have faces that are, in a word, rugged. Most have long broken noses and large scars visible from yards away. Your head begins to swim, and you want nothing more than to find your house and get a glass of water. You ask the nearest gentleman if he could help you, and he responds, "Here in Libertarian Heaven, we help ourselves. This is a rugged town full of rugged individuals. If I were to help you, why, that'd be socialism." You tell him you're just trying to find out which house is yours, and he responds, "Well, since you're new here, I'm going to help you out just this once. You see, friend, any one of these houses are yours. You just pick any one you want." You look down the street at the motley collection of dilapidated structures and wonder which you should choose. The man adds as he starts to turn away, "You're going to need an axe, though." "Excuse me," you say? "Well, you can have any house you want, but you're going to have to kill whoever lives there. You really want an axe for that." "Holy shit," you think. "I have to kill for a house?" The man senses your surprise and explains, "Look, friend, this place is paradise. It's just that if you want something, you got to kill the person what's got it. Take what's yours, defend it. It's a life free of tyranny of rules and government. Understand?" You stare blankly at him, unsure what comes next. He points his axe up to the soon-to-be setting sun and offers, "Best get an axe soon before the sun goes down." What happens then, you ask? "Oh, the nightly purge, of course." Somehow you muster the wherewithal to ask, "Where can I get an axe?" The man turns around as he walks away and says over his shoulder, "I'd find a feller with an axe and kill him. Good luck." So, Lucas, there's no running water, no electricity, no basic services, the roads suck, there's no internet, there are no people of color, and it's basically the final 30 minutes of the movie Downfall, but you are free from any government overreach, onerous rules, and stifling regulation. So enjoy your eternity of nightly axe warfare.
Wow. An eternal Galt's Gulch. Congratulations,
Totally.
Lucas.
Sounds
I hope you
delightful.
enjoy that.
Yeah. Listen, if you, dear listener, who isn't Lucas, are thinking to yourself, wow, I could sure use a slice of whatever it was that Doug just gave Lucas, you can go to howtoheretic.com and follow the link to the Patreon where you can start to donate to us, and that's a nice thing to do. And if you can't afford to do that, which a few of us can't because it's, we got this this pandemic on still.
Got this depression on.
Please feel more than free to give us 5 stars and only 5 stars at any of your finer podcast purveyors, and we'll sure appreciate you there.
Uncle Doug,
here am I.
You know, sometimes there's an old expression, which is out with the old and in with the new.
I thought it was what the hell do you have to lose?
What the hell do you have to lose to throw out the old and in with the new is how that works. So it's what I don't know is when to do that or if to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's my confusion. Now, I'm not a boomer. I'm almost a boomer. So some devices, they vex me.
Right.
But you know, maybe Uncle Dan can help us with some tech support with the rules here.
Sure.
Have you ever tried to do tech support for a boomer? It's the worst.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hi, boomer listeners. Love you.
Hi, bye. We'll see if you can figure out how to turn off the podcast. Anyway.
Mouthful of water. Perfect timing.
Did you do a spit take?
I did not. I kept it. It went entirely into my nasal cavities, so I saved the day.
All right. Well, guys, on this podcast, we have talked a lot about the batshit buffoonery that is the Old Testament of the Bible. Just last week, I dove into the story of Saul seeking the wisdom of his frenemy Samuel with the help of a psychic medium.
Yes.
It's a gold mine of utter nonsense, and we can plunder it for years and not be disappointed. But here's a problem. As former members of a quasi-Christian cult, we've been using these explications as bludgeons against Christianity. Look how stupid the Christians are. They think there's a guy, they think a guy who tortures hundreds of foxes for a personal vendetta is a hero, we say in our arrogance. Look at Christian foolishness. They think that a God who drowns every person on earth except one family is good and moral. We laugh from our imagined ivory tower. Look at their taste in clothes, we chide loudly in public, pointing and snickering as they weep. Look, I'm just kidding about the last one, but I mean, we say that, but we say it quietly to each other when they can't hear. Anyway,
because we're good people.
We're good people.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is that we think of these forays into the madness that is the Old Testament as a means of discrediting Christianity. What I'm wondering today is, are we wrong about that? Is it possible that we're pointing at the wrong ding-dongs when we make fun of the Old Testament? After all, the Old Testament is the Jewish book, is it not? The first 5 books, Genesis through Deuteronomy, the Pentateuch, as it is known, the Big Five, the proses of Moses, constitute the basis for Jewish law. All of those verses in Leviticus that we've had so much fun with are still supposedly the foundations of all the Jewish code. They're the ones who, at least on paper, are still practicing all that stuff. So why, all this time, have we talked like we've been making fun of Christians? Wouldn't it be more proper to say we've been making fun of Jews all along? Well, yes and no. On one hand, yes, Jewish religious beliefs and practices are utterly ridiculous, and the Torah they love is stupid, as we've so often pointed out. On the other hand, picking on Jews has historically led to
it's a bad look.
Bad things.
There's a certain
I'm going to go back
sector
to
of
picking on
listeners
Christians.
Yeah.
There's a certain sector of listeners we aren't trying to recruit to this show.
Correct. So yes, but that still leaves us with a tricky question. Does the Old Testament actually apply to Christians? Pretty much all Christians include it in their scriptures, which would indicate that it totally applies. But then, let me do a little calculating here. Carry the 2 over x, divided by pi. Exactly 0% of Christians actually live by the 613 commandments of the Torah, or even the 369 commandments that the Jewish people still profess to self-apply.
I think it's even fewer than that.
Well, you didn't do the research I did.
All right, fine.
Where I saw,
Agree to disagree.
I saw that number
Agree to disagree.
on something. Anyway, as a matter of fact, there are only 10 Old Testament laws that you ever hear Christians talking about, and if pressed, the vast majority probably can't even name all of them. So what's the deal? They profess a whole series of books, 39 if they're Protestant, 46 if they're Catholic, and more if they're weirdos like the Orthodox Christians, that they promptly ignore. Guys like Ken Ham, which I just realized sounds like a Star Wars name, say that all the answers are in Genesis, but then they totally disregard the laws of Leviticus, Deuteronomy, all this. So how is that okay?
Right.
Well, it all comes down to Jesus. The whole idea of Christianity is that Judaism was correct, but then the Messiah came, and now we all follow him. He changed the game entirely. He said we could eat whatever we want, for example. In Mark 7, he said, quote, "Don't you see that nothing that enters a person from the outside can defile them? For it doesn't go into their heart, but into their stomach, and then out of the body." Boom! Owls and weasels are back on the menu, baby.
Oh, thank God. I've been hankering for an owl.
Right?
Yeah.
I just think, and I got to say, I read a comment in a YouTube video that I watched for this, and the guy was very adamant that what that scripture actually meant was not that we could just eat whatever we wanted, but that it doesn't defile you when you eat the thing. It's when it comes out of you as poop that you're defiled.
Well, then if you just never poop.
Boom.
Yeah.
No defiling.
Yeah.
I personally love that scripture because it marked, in history, a very, very good day for breakfast, but a very bad day for pigs.
100%. Absolutely. Anyway, look, Romans 7 goes much further in terms of letting go of the old laws. It somewhat confusingly tells us that when Christ died, so did his followers' connection to the old law. Quote, "But now, by dying to what once bound us, we have been released from the law so that we serve in the new way of the Spirit and not in the old way of the written code." So,
right.
yeah, maybe we're not supposed to obey those old laws. Galatians chapter 3, verses 24 and 25 are a little less confusing and even more straightforward. "So the law was our guardian until Christ came, that we might be justified by faith. Now that this faith has come, we are no longer under a guardian," meaning the law.
Right.
Hebrews 8, verse 13 is even more explicit. "By calling this covenant new, he has made the first one obsolete, and what is obsolete and outdated will soon disappear." Well, suck on that, Moses.
I wish. Yeah.
Right? You're out of date. You're done, son. I mean, if I were a Christian, I'd be a little worried by the prediction that the Mosaic Law would, quote, "soon disappear."
Yeah, head to the Exodus, Moses.
Right? Yeah, boom. I think, considering the fact that there are still plenty of Jewish people around the world practicing those laws 2,000 years later, that disappearing soon thing might be problematic. But, soon can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, what are the new laws? What are the rules Jesus is using to replace the hundreds of old laws? Laws that encompass everything from how you cut your hair to where you're supposed to stand when your friend goes to get something to secure a loan that you're giving him. Well, Christians are pleased to announce that they've boiled it all down to one law, which is outlined in Galatians 5. "For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command, love your neighbor as yourself."
Yeah.
Love!
Yeah.
That's the only law. Now, instead of driving yourself bonkers trying to remember whether you can or can't eat squirrels or how many birds you're supposed to sacrifice every month for the sin of menstruating, there's only one law to remember. It's so easy.
Yeah.
So, if the New Testament is so clear that everybody can disregard the Old Covenant, then why do Christians still read the damn thing? Why do they see it as anything but an outdated bunch of writing by theological primitives? Well, it's the Bible, silly. Obviously, you can't say one thing very clearly without also presenting the exact opposite point just as clearly.
Yes. Sometimes on the same page.
Right.
Indeed. Literally a few times.
Yeah.
The New Testament constantly refers to the Old Testament as Holy Scripture. In Luke chapter 24, Jesus tells his followers about how important they are, about how important they, meaning the Old Testament laws, are, which makes sense considering he's positioning himself to be the fulfillment of so many of the prophecies in it.
Right.
You can't be the Messiah that the Old Testament has promised if the Old Testament is bullshit. Am I right?
It tracks.
So, yeah. So Paul says to his main man Timothy, quote, all Scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness. Now, considering the fact that the Old Testament was kind of a work in progress at that moment, Paul could only have been referring to the old shit. And then there's the coup de grace. The Big Daddy. It's Jesus, his very self, just 5 chapters into the New Testament, in bright red letters, giving the most important sermon in the whole book, the Sermon on the Mount. This is Matthew chapter 5. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen, will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. Therefore, anyone who sets aside one of the least of these commands and teaches others accordingly will be called least in the kingdom of heaven, but whoever practices and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
That's pretty conclusive, if you ask me.
Yeah. There you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. It's clear as day, the old laws still apply.
Yeah.
Of course, it's the Bible, so he spends the rest of the sermon talking about how obsolete the old laws are. Here's the thing. Jesus was the perfect cult leader. He was dynamic and uplifting with radical ideas that were so simple that they barely meant anything at all. The only law is love? Sounds great until you try practicing it for a while, and then suddenly you realize that my version of loving you is bumping up against your version of loving me, and even when everybody's loving everybody else, disputes still pop up, and somebody's got to sort it all out. That's why you have to have a second guy. A Brigham Young to follow your Joseph Smith.
That's right.
A David Miscavige to follow your L. Ron Hubbard. A Ma Anand Sheila to your Bhagwan Rajneesh. A hard-nosed asshole who lays down the law after the first guy sets up the pretend utopia. Well, that was Paul's job, and it was impossible. There's too many circles to square. You just can't do it. The answer is always both. So, in his second letter to the Corinthians, Paul came up with the out that has fucked up Christianity ever since. The concept that could very possibly be responsible for turning America into the dystopian, shit-burning dumpster fire that it is today. The idea that everything is wrong and everything is right, and a righteous person has all the tools they need to figure it out for themselves. Quote, He has made us competent as ministers of a new covenant, not the letter of, but not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. Voila!
Boy.
We're all competent. Problem solved. And now everybody thinks that they know better than the experts on everything.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
I don't think I've come to any decent conclusions on whether or not the Christians should give up on the Old Testament. I think they'd be crazy. They're crazy to hold on to it because it is, as we've discussed many times, stupid
and terrible.
And terrible. And yet they can't let go of it because Jesus told them not to.
But they let go. The thing is, they let go of almost all of it, right? Like, the dietary restrictions, the bylaws about how to treat slaves. You know what I mean?
All of the laws.
Yeah.
They let go of entirely, except that top 10.
Yeah.
Which are kind of meaningless because everybody understands that in just sort of by nature.
Let's be honest. The only people who know the entirety of the 10 Commandments are atheists.
That's so true.
And also, this is the problem with malleable ideology. if it can mean anything, it also means nothing. And and the Bible is a perfect example of the meaninglessness of an ideology. So I think the American Christian heart lies in the Old Testament, not in the New, even though they kind of have Jesus as this Potemkin village frontman. But
100%.
They do love the Old Testament laws for other people. Speaking as a gay man, my whole life I have heard what an abomination to the to the Lord I am. I'm right up there with oysters. Right.
Yeah.
So
you're almost as bad as an oyster, Mark.
I'm as bad
Shame
as the
on you.
lesser owl. But so they're happy for those rules to apply to other people, but never to themselves.
Right.
Well, and it's so interesting. I literally, I read the Sermon on the Mount for this piece, in part because one of the articles that I read was one that sort of rocked Christianity. It was written, I think, last year by a guy, I don't remember his name, but anyway, it asked the question: why are Christians trying to get the Ten Commandments up on in their courthouses and whatever? Why aren't they trying to get the Sermon on the Mount up there? Why aren't they trying to get the Beatitudes up there or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so I read through the Sermon on the Mount, and you know what? I can't imagine a modern American Christian actually believing that stuff. All the stuff about turn the other cheek, literally it says if a guy hits you, you're supposed to let him hit you again.
Well, what that really means is if you see...
rather than hit him back.
If you see someone in public wearing a mask, you should spit in their face. That's the meaning of that, right?
Well, that's the thing, is this fealty for the Old Testament by Christians over the New is, and this is not what we're trying to talk about today, but it helps explain Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is nothing like the character of Jesus whatsoever, but he's very much like several Old Testament characters, including David.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of astounding when you realize that these quote unquote followers of Jesus have so little to do with what Jesus actually ever said.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not in their group and going to their church and following by the rules that their pastor has set down, they fuck you.
Yeah, you can go to hell.
Yeah, and
fuck loving you. They're going to hate you.
I find that the more demonstratively Christian a person is, like when you see, Christian in somebody's Twitter bio, they are borderline evil. They are, and it is the cruelty that is the entirety of the Old Testament that they're spitting out into the world. Right? Jesus is just window dressing. And and I think he's partly at fault because of what he said. He allegedly said, the alleged person Yeshua, in the Sermon on the Mount, that I am the laws. Right. I nothing changes. So
I just love that he said, love everybody, let them hit you if they want to, give them everything, give up everything, don't be rich. And then Paul said, yeah, but you can discern for yourself. And everybody was like, cool, I'm going to hit people and be rich.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Well, because it's to aspire to the expectations Jesus put on his followers is hard, right? Like, it's different.
Yeah.
Give away everything you own for the kingdom of God and follow me and all that shit.
Yeah.
But aspiring to King Cyrus or to David in the Old Testament is easy. Because they were terrible people.
Yeah,
and more emotionally satisfying.
Yeah,
I think to a lot of people.
Because you don't deprive yourself of anything, right? You're just busy depriving other people of whatever you think is a problem, right? And
because you love them, Mark. Because you love them.
Because of the love of Jesus. And David is the perfect example of an American Christian. You can be, as long as you are quote chosen, or as long as you are quote saved, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
None of your behavior matters. Look at King David, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a problem, guys.
I imagine, you try to imagine the guy, those guys who marched into the Michigan State House with their guns, screaming at these cops and whatever.
Yeah.
And then I imagine reading to them the passage where Jesus says, yeah, it's bad to murder, but you know what it also is? It's bad to be mad at somebody.
Right.
And it's bad to call somebody names.
Yeah.
And he equates them. He says it's just as bad. You're going to be judged for that too. And you tell that to those guys, they will not be able to hear you. I guarantee it.
No. So if they truly want us to believe that the Old Testament still doesn't affect every corner of their lives, then they should stop selling it as a match fucking set.
Exactly. So get out there and go to your parents' place and rip out the Old Testament for them.
Yeah, just do it. You know what? Take the new with it. There's a bunch. That's problematic as well. So
yeah, I mean that's a lot of good rolling papers for all you weed heads out there. So
enjoy.
Let's move on.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to banish one of the books of the Bible, send us an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Oh, we're going to get so many emails. Or if Father Grandier got you pregnant in the years between 1632 and 1634 in Loudun, France, you can phone that in to us at the Maury Povich Show here, which is 903-88-HOW2, which is 903-884-6986. I'm also on Twitter at howtoheretic.
And thanks to our incredible patrons.
And thank you for Cody Layton, as usual, editing this mess together.
And thanks to all of you, dear friends, for tuning in.
Bye, friends.
Bye-bye.